places so lonely. There's a fire so strong, it feeds in my thoughts and it changes my words, it changes my vision, but it takes so long to get through. Bundle of nails, a shake when I'm talking, my trembling fingers find it all too much to bear. A bundle of nails is set for the taking. I need to stop shaking or I blow my chance again. Take a bow to the strangest of feelings. Is it really so strange? I'm lost in the haze, but I felt it before. I remember I heard it in an old song, and I know how it feels, 'cause I'm a bundle of nails. I shake when I'm talking, my trembling fingers find it all too much to bear. A bundle of nails, it's set for the taking. I need to stop shaking or I blow my chance again. Don't say what you wanna say, sleepless nights I here to stay. I wear away the carpet in my room. Now well before the breakout day, my fingernails now been chewed away. I'm starting on my knuckles pretty soon. Maybe now, if you pause for a moment, will it all go wrong? And you shake 'cause you feel it crawl under your skin, suffocate without warning. Will it offer a hand if I could? Bundle of nails, it's set for the taking. My trembling fingers find it all too much to bear. A bundle of nails, it's set for the taking. I need to stop shaking or I blow my chance again. Listen and you'll hear the heartbeat of a universe teeming with force. See all the forms and the faces of nature taking its course. And feel all the wonderful motion flowing through things far and near. Nature will share her secrets when we are ready to hear. Energy, these are a few of your faces, glowing in timeless places, bringing our lives new graces. Energy, there is no living without you. We must keep learning about you. Now is the time to find how to. Energy, you are profound. You make the world go round and round. You make the world go round. You make the world go round. You make the world go round.
Thank you, Energy, and thank you, Blessing Jr. for the Ray. Hello, everybody. Boy, what a time to come into my stream during the Energy intro. Hope you're all doing well. I just before I went live, I saw that Blessing was making a list of his 100 favorite games, which is an exercise I've done before as well. It's a fun one to do. In fact, maybe I'll show you mine if you're curious. But Might be a bit more old man than Blessings. I saw that Breath of the Wild. This is number 1. I think that is a very fine choice. Here's mine. I got Mega Man 3 because I'm old and like Mega Man. Mario Odyssey, that's a newer game. Final Fantasy 14. Rip Fandango, Super Metroid, Smash Melee, that's old. Metroid Prime, that's old. Mario 64, that's old. Half-Life 2, that's old. Resident Evil 4, that's pretty new. Was the top 100 stream a pre-VOD thing? Probably. But thank you again, Blessing. I do appreciate that so much. Hope you have a good night. Always be calling Warnicliff. Thank you for the stream shake. We're continuing our Resident Evil 3 Nemesis playthrough, the original. The GameCube port of the original, anyways. So, gonna be fun. Now, I was curious, what if I just go down a list? What according to this list do I think is the best licensed game ever? How far do I have to go to get to a licensed game? Not counting Kingdom Hearts. That's I mean, there's a Disney license, but more specific than that. They're more specific. Do I even have one on here? What was this? Capcom 2, maybe. That's more like brands. Tony Hawk, I don't think Tony Hawk counts. I mean, like something based off a movie or TV show or something, or a comic book, you know? Right? Like a Batman Arkham Asylum, I imagine, is a popular one in a lot of people's lists. I even have Arkham Asylum. I like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City a lot. I don't know if they're in my top 100. I don't know. Let's see. Knights of the Republic. There you go. Star Wars. Knights of the Republic is my first one. Does Pragmatic crack the top 100? Yeah, I kind of have to reevaluate soon here. I don't think so. We can look. Like, what's my 100 game? Do I think Pragmata is better than Blueprints? No. I think I liked Blueprints even more than Pragmata. So there's that. There's that. I really like it a lot, though. It is very good stuff. I wonder if I don't think Resident Evil 2 OG quite cracks it either. I'm not sure if Resident Evil Requiem would crack it either. You argue KOTOR doesn't count if brands count. It's a little bit different Star Wars games. I get it. Okay, I mean, KOTOR was my like 40. When do we get the KOTOR? I mean, look, we can. I mean, is there anything besides after Knights of the Republic? DuckTales was on the list. Okay, maybe DuckTales. Whoops. Sorry, well, look, I was pushing the wrong D-pad thing, going through scenes. Remember the Windows 95 thing? We'll get back to that someday. Sorry. This way. Here we go. X-Men Arcade is a license game. Yeah. I mean, Knights of the Republic is a license, but I think that counts. If you don't think that counts, then you would have to go to DuckTales. 75. The same max count? That was a comic book. Just kind of the guy's comic book, though. There you go. Well, Donkey Kong 64 entered that list. Who knows? GoldenEye would count if I liked GoldenEye. I don't have too many beloved games. It's not something I like takes. Usually, if a game is some beloved thing, I usually either really like it myself or see the value in it and we'll kind of talk it up. I have no affinity for GoldenEye. GoldenEye means nothing to me. So there. I don't really have any affinity for Perfect Dark either. All right, so Resident Evil 3, we just like Sonic the Hedgehog, we escaped the city. Well, not really. We escaped downtown. We are in a clock tower now. We made good progress yesterday when I started the game. It took some work. I struggled a bit, but I got there. This game is significantly harder than Resident Evil 2, I think.
Resident Evil 3.
But I'm enjoying it. We are at the clock tower now. Here's my, and this is on Shoot Hardware. Here's my copy of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis for the GameCube, if you didn't know. The choice system, I like the idea of the choice system, but it kind of seems like a coin flip. Like sometimes I can like try to think what is better. The one time when Nemesis came, I was like, I don't know, hide in the basement, and then I was like, nah, that doesn't work. I'm a bit concerned about my ink ribbon situation, which is a first. I have 2 ink ribbons. And there weren't any new ones in this room, which seemed mean. But we'll see. Game looks great. It even kind of looks nicer on GameCube than I was expecting. Even though they're expensive, it makes me want to get Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica on GameCube as well, as far as the ports go. Have a full Resident Evil collection. Some of them change the ending. Is it like bad ending or different ending? I don't want to get a bad ending. Play the piano, Jill. Come on. Yeah. For God's sake. That's feel like my chance to get Resident Evil 2 for GameCube maybe past. I don't know. Different's fine. They did not bother trying to adapt that in
Carlos,
the remake.
I don't believe it. You're alive.
I'm not sure how we're gonna get out of this town.
What are you talking about? We made it!
You don't get it. They have no intention of letting us make it back alive. Do you really think we can trust their great evacuation plan? Huh, it's just a piece of paper.
But we don't have any other choice than to trust them right now.
No, if we're gonna die, then we should get to choose when it happens.
Whoa! Get a hold of yourself.
So that's it then, huh? You're giving up?
No. I can't handle it.
Military guy can't handle the pressure all of a sudden. Resident Evil 2 is $173 complete in box. Boy, I feel like, at least when I got this one, it was expensive. It wasn't that expensive, and I felt like 2 was the same price. I mean, I thought it was more like $70, I don't know, $80. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, this dining room, though. Reminds me of that one room in Resident Evil 4. Any ink ribbons in here? Less than Cubivore, yeah. I wonder what the most expensive GameCube game is now that I want to get. There's like a few, like Go-Go Hyper Grind, that are very expensive that I don't know if I really care if I ever get or not. There's like, you know, like that Wind Waker Metroid Prime combo pack that's $750, which a neat collectible. I have Coliseum. I have Pokemon Coliseum. I have Gale of Darkness. I've got a lot of the heavy hitter. I've got Cubivore. What's this, buddy? What you got here for me? Mine Thrower. Oh, this was in the remake. There was a really cool boss fight with the Mine Thrower. Resident Evil 2 GameCube collecting box has gone up $80 since August 2025. So like right around when Requiem was announced? Is that what it is? A little bit after? Order for the UBCS Echo Team. Wipe out the downtown area of the infestation and then evacuate the remaining citizens to the clock tower. Among the civilians, remember to give priority to the employees of Umbrella's affiliates. Nice. Alright, stay alert because the infected have a high endurance rate and will strike without hesitation. Once the mission is complete, when it becomes too impossible to accomplish, evacuate immediately. We'll deploy a helicopter that is waiting in the suburbs to the yard in front of the clock tower. When you're ready for evacuation, ring the bell of the clock tower to signal the helicopter. I just gotta ring the bell. They've had a big bump. Damn it, I wish I got them sooner then. That's not so bad. It's kind of nice to be in an interior again. Veronika's like 250. Damn it. Man, I swear I could have gone in at some point for not nowhere near that much. Dud. I'm gonna write that down. Veronika's 280. Jeez. Hey, JT. I mean, I have it for Dreamcast, and I want to play it on there anyways, but it's just, I don't know. I like the idea of having the complete Resident Evil set on GameCube, which I bet a lot of people do, is the issue. At least Resident Evil 4, 1 and 0 are still relatively cheap. Hell of a clock tower. Hey, Zarin, what's going on, alright? I've had a weird start to my day where, like, I didn't sleep great last night. But then, like, I overslept today to, like, a weird degree, and when I literally had a dream about how I was oversleeping and felt awful, like, not like guilty, like felt like weak and bad because of it. And then I woke up and actually felt that way, and I was in a weird kind of daze for a good chunk of the day until maybe a couple hours ago. I finally started feeling better, so I don't know what the hell it was, but I just slept like crazy and woke up, felt like shit. Yeah, I had maybe the false awakening really messed me up. I don't know. Do we want to go upstairs yet? Probably not. We unlock this door. Yep. My camera colors look groovy. Well, it's the so when I play the dark games, I actually put my face light against my white wall and have it splash back at me, just so I don't have this glaring light hitting me while I'm trying to play a spooky game. Most of the times I can deal with it. Something about the spooky games, I'm like, okay, let's get the mood better here. You guys know I can sleep, but if even I'm like, that is a weird hour to sleep in, so that's a bad sign. What now? Oh, damn it. I'm always like 1 second off, and now I have to wait for them to get back up. I'm not telling you guys what time it was. Damn it, I might restart. I don't like that. You can skip that cutscene. I got that one zombie grab me. There's all sorts of problems. We got it this time for sure.
Resident Evil 3.
Well, usually I'm excited about sleeping in on the weekend, but it was like, that was not good. I don't know what the hell that was. I'm like, I'll sleep without an alarm at all. Just see what happens. I did not like what happened. Yeah, ABC, I mean, I just, I don't know, kind of didn't come up, and if it didn't come up, one thing, I don't know if my old Final Fantasy contacts even follow me over to my Giant Bomb email, which is something I have to reach out to them for. And if it's, like, not kind of being put in my mind by them, I'm not gonna remember. Well, we're so busy. It'd be kind of hard to imagine going to it right now. Be fun. I wish I could. Maybe next time. But, like, we're trying to get ready for SGF. We're trying to get ready. Trying to get this road trip thing planned. We just got... Like, what kind of coverage am I really gonna do? Let's go to the one in Japan Halloween. There you go. I mean, that'll be right around BlizzCon, right? Usually, I forget when BlizzCon is. I kind of want to go to BlizzCon again. Can I, like, get... Damn it. This guy's gonna grab me. That's fine. Carlos is gonna talk to me. I mean, I've been seeing some things about butt sliders. I'm not really sure what's going on. There's nothing in this room, right? Yeah, this game seems like really proud of the fact that they can put more zombies in a room than ever. Oh, look. I think I missed these last time. I think it's a good thing we died. Almost missed those grenades. Hey, turn to Ray. How's it going? Play this music box one more time after we get the map. Okay, I was telling everyone earlier, like, I kind of, like, I don't know what it was, but, like, I slept in a weird amount and then woke up feeling like crap today for a while. I feel better now. I don't know what it was. And... okay, so we went this room. Let's try that again. Maybe not die this time. Oh, let's unlock that door. This door. Yeah, I don't think I'm sick. For a moment, I was like, am I sick? I don't think I'm sick. I think it's just some weird sleep thing. I don't know. I might need to talk to my sleep doctor again, because I have the... what the hell? Wait, there's spiders in here now instead? Thank God there's ink ribbons. Weird. There's another save room right here. That's sweet. Is my air score not good? I mean, I think it says it's good, but I don't know. I still never really feel all that rested in the morning. And I always get so tired in the middle of the day. God, I have a lot of stuff. Keep the mines away for now. I don't even know if I really particularly want to save. Yeah, I just saved not too long ago. I can make it a little bit more proggies before worrying about saving. B12 deficiency. I don't know what that means, but because of my dad, I get blood work pretty regularly, so a lot of my shit's monitored. I don't drink any coffee, which is like, maybe I just... part of me is like, oh, if I'm tired of the day, I should just drink coffee like other people do. But when I drink coffee, it just makes me feel jittery, and then I'm like too hot. I don't... what's this? I mean, it's weird because I like the taste of coffee, but my body does not agree with it that much. Coffee is gross. See, like, again, I don't think coffee... I like the smell of coffee, like the taste of coffee. It does not agree with me. What happened in this room? Jesus. Big West Hotel Restaurant. Where am I? I'm like back out in the city. I can see why the Resident Evil 3 remake is contentious, because it's the remake that I think feels the most different from the original in a lot of ways. I also might still like it better. I don't know. Oh, here he comes, right? Yeah. Like, it's weird to cut out the clock tower when your game is already pretty freaking short. Like, and this is like a chunk of the game. It's weird to have not included this, right? It's strange. It is clearly them cutting a corner, so I understand why it bothers people. But also, like, I just can't, like, be like, yeah, that's a bad game. Like, I play that game. I have fun. Out of time. Sucking spiders. I wonder why it's so weird there weren't zombies in this room this time. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing you could remake and expand on, kind of like how the Resident Evil 2 remake made the sewers a much more of a thing. And this would be more fun. Like, a clock tower is a much more interesting thing to explore than a sewer. So, I think, like, it's weird because it's like the one opportunity they had to probably have made the game feel a bit meatier. Oh, for fuck's sake, I hate the spiders. Alright, have I been poisoned? Nope, just hurt. That's fine. But, like, the Nemesis thing, like, making Nemesis more cinematic than a pursuer, like, maybe that's fine. I don't know, it's a little weird. A little weird. Okay, well, don't shoot those. Don't shoot those. Those hurt me more than it hurts the enemies, I have learned. It was your birthday? Well, happy birthday, Indy Joe. Hope you have a good one. Yes, it is. Good eye. Is it going to electrocute me or just that water part there? Should I save that for a moment? Yes, I will. Hey, Indy Joe. Thank you so much for 3 months. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's way more red herbs in this game. I'll give it that. I was hurting for red herbs last time. Granted, I had other healing for other things. You know, 2 green herbs will do in a pinch. A lot more red herbs. See, I feel like Mr. X is going to show up here, and it's going to be like, should you turn on the electrocute them thing right here? But I don't want to push it yet. Maybe I should push it now, and then when they try to come, I'll be safe. I just got to remember not to cross it myself. Yeah, we're going to time that later. Hey, Burrito, thank you for the 100 bits. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Mike, so I bought a PS2. Which PS1 and PS2 games that haven't been ported would you recommend? First game I bought was Parasite Eve from watching your streams. Yes, Parasite Eve is amazing. Super good. That's fantastic. And yeah, no real ports of it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I like Jumping Flesh 2 a lot on the PS1. You're not going to play that anywhere yet. Incredible Crisis is a really cool, really weird game. Super neat, super unique. Like that one. A ton. A big one that's on my to-do list, though, is Threads of Fate. It's a Square Enix thing. And similar to that, other Square Enix games that haven't been ported where, like, Xenogears is a big one. You might want to check that out. So many good PS1 RPGs. PS2, I'm like trying. PS2, so many things have been ported, right? Like a lot of my favorite PS2 games are like the Metal Gears and the Kingdom Hearts and the Final Fantasies, and even the 3D platformers. I mean, if you haven't like played those 3D platformers on like a PS3, I would still check out like the Ratchet and Clanks and the Jack and Daxters and the Sly Coopers. Vagrant Story on PS1 as well. Yeah. Big one there. The Vagrant Story is he has a little bit of Parasite Eve in it, for sure. Silver Gear. Bushido Blade. Oh, Ridge Racer Type 4. Ridge Racer Type 4 in the PS1. One of my favorite games. I feel like this isn't like a proper save room I'm in, but I am gonna. Oh, it is. Is there a box somewhere? Very generous with the save rooms all of a sudden. There we go. You ever hear of Kodaika? I don't think so. Yeah, there's also, I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting a million. There's so many good PS1, PS2 games. Like, having a PS2, in a lot of ways, if you can only get, like, one retro console, it's almost hard to argue against just getting a PS2. You can play so many freaking good games that way. I'm excited. I have my GameCube and my PS2 plugged in right now. MT rounds. This is for the mine gun. I'm assuming. It's a Resident Evil style horror game with RPG random battles. Oh, neat. What's the Incredible Crisis people have their own kind of weird survival horror game. I don't know if it's that one. Okay, this is probably where that dud is gonna be born. The Fortress PS1 game, hell yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna play Parasite Eve 2 at some point, maybe this Halloween. Oh. Dud, down, up, down, down, up, down. I get it. Which we're almost at. Down, up, down, down. Is it already there? Down, up, down, down, up, down. Did I change anything? That's weird that it's already dud, but not working. I guess I could try the opposite. Let's save. Hey, lady, how's it going? Thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream. Playing the OG Resident Evil 3, the GameCube port of it. Shoot hardware. Hope you had a good stream yourself. Okay, all right, let's save. Let's save. I put my ink ribbons away, didn't I? Hello, hello. Nemesis, we're doing good. We're in the clock tower. I'm shocked by like how much harder it has been. Than Resident Evil 2 was. Weird. My inventory is getting pretty freaking filled up, man. Let's save. Boy, all of a sudden I have a lot more ink ribbons. I was getting worried about that. Yeah, this is this version looks sharper than I was expecting. Took me a little bit to get used to using this GameCube analog stick for tank controls. But we're getting there. Catulus, thank you so much for 5 months. Appreciate that. Hope you're having a great weekend as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's try the opposite of dud. Oh, no. It's really gonna do this every time. I just feel like just doing the opposite is not going to too obvious. Oops. I should have played it. Ugh. I should push the play button instead of just the leave button. Did they stay? Yes. Guess that's it. Can be that easy. Alright, there was that God of Time thing from earlier. I have a lot of keys in my inventory at the moment. That's for that little area there. Can't believe there's 3 save rooms in this clock tower. It almost feels like a bit much. Extra life on 12/21. The extra life days in December this year. I love Curse of Monkey Island. Here we go. Alright. Turn the lights on. Use the light. You know, exactly what I expected, but I'll take it. Oh, on my page. That's from the last extra life. I should probably remove that. I don't think I've ever done 24 hours. I go pretty late, but 24 hours is a lot. Just run past spiders always works better. Maybe the dud meant from the perspective of that pointer. What? Can't fool me. I want more fucking spiders. So I'm getting considered there's gonna be a giant spider boss fight soon or something. What happened here? In each other's arms. Sweet, sad. It's only been 3 hours since the mission started, but the team is down to me and Campbell. The number of the zombies is far greater than we expected. There's no hope left for the city. We've already injected the antibody for the virus, but I'm not sure that it will work. I don't know if I will survive. We managed to reach the clock tower. Out of desperation, we robbed some wounded members of their weapons and used the surviving citizens as decoys. We were taught to do this in order to survive in the battlefield, but I never enjoyed it. However, a girl showed up at the clock tower before me. She's one of the survivors. She looks just like my sister before she starved to death. I wanted to evacuate as soon as possible, but the girl didn't. Her father insisted that he wouldn't leave the city, or his beloved wife rest in peace. I didn't want to save the girl, but Campbell said, all I care about is their lives. That's how I felt before, but now the clock tower has become a dangerous place, and I don't want to make any more mistakes. Jesus. What if this is that dude's daughter from the beginning? Alright, something's going on here. Past goddess. There's a tray under the table. Okay. Now what do you guys got? Amber obsidian crystal. Okay, any clues over here? It's the bell. There goes my inventory. Hey, G Nitro, thank you so much for subscribing for your first month. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope you're having a great weekend. Really appreciate it. Alright, let's see if there's any clues. Ask goddess. I mean, I guess in the poses? Maybe. I don't know. Where I don't... Okay. Okay. We want them to all say noon, I'm guessing. I mean, this is the kind of thing that could be brute forced. Or we could just do the right thing here. Ah, shit. Whoa, not even close. Try swapping these two. Put crystal on the left. Nope. Okay, let's swap the obsidian. Put obsidian on the right. Oops. I almost immediately forgot which one, what was in here. Hey, Arbitrary Water, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Alright, let's get Amber on the left. Hope you had a good stream. We are running out of incorrect tries here. Might be the last thing we guess. No. It all says the same thing, but this isn't gonna work. Let's put Crystal on the right. I'm sure if I was like really paying attention, I could figure out like how much these things are moving. But again, I think brute forcing it is almost just easier. Might do it right here. Literally the last possible combination I haven't tried yet. There it is. Literally the last one. Got it. First try. Hey, I know where that goes. Run past some more spiders. That goes in the gear hole. Right in the gear slot. Alright, not poisoned. Gears going into slots. Easy. Yeah, things on the fritz now. Come on. Do this first. There we go. I see now. Ring the bells. Part of me's like, my gamer sense is telling me I might be fighting some kind of scary boss soon. I don't know. I think it's fine to save. Hey, butt monkey. At least till Saturday for me. Not much longer though. That's a good little sequence. Honestly, it's been my favorite part of the game so far, probably. A lot more puzzles and whatnot. Midnight.
We're saved.
Check.
Down here! It's finally over.
Sure it is, yeah. Yeah, CG cutscene Jill is wild, and there sure are a lot of shots looking down at her, aren't there? Oh, shit!
No!
Man, my instincts rule.
Stars.
You didn't notice? I did.
Stars.
Uh-oh. What's that? Nice roll.
Stars.
He's fine. Just a little RPG explosion.
Stars. Stars.
Oh my god. Virus? What the fuck is that? Oh shit, I should have healed. Try that again, I guess. I think we saved. Virus? What does virus mean?
Resident Evil 3.
Gary Gozinia, thank you for following. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely right to bring that healing. I feel like I'm starting that fight with the virus. I don't have to actually leave this place, it's just the cutscene does it for me.
Stars.
Jesus Christ. Alright, next time, buddy. I got up fast enough this time, at least. It'd be great if I didn't miss all of these. Oh, damn it, I'm dead, I'm dead. Close, though. I'm learning. Yeah, you really have to discern her health from how she's walking. Okay. I'm gonna try not to miss as much in the beginning this time, too. Maybe run away more. Hey, Gary, appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm chill. I'm not getting mad or frustrated by this fight at all. Nah, it's fine. Again, it's right at save point.
3.
MT, mine thrower, right. I was like, what are MT rounds? They must be for the mine thrower, I guess. Now I think about it. That's exactly what they're for, of course. It says so in the name. Redder, greener. I know this isn't the final fight or anything. I don't want to, like, scoop her all out. guess I could try bringing the Magnum as well, but maybe not yet. Yeah, I've never been mad in my life. What do you guys think is the most fun boss fight in Resident Evil game? I think I really like the Krauser boss fight in Resident Evil 4 Remake. That hunk fight in Requiem was really fun too. Pretty similar. I guess I kind of like when dudes just fight. I don't think that hit him. Damn it. Oh. Wrong button. Hit him. Yeah, come on, don't throw me just like there. Throw me somewhere. Ow. Keep doing that. I am so toast. Well, I can't reload until I do all of them. Get up, get up, get up. She turns so slowly. Blow up. Honestly, right now. Oh yeah. I think I'm toast. Okay. Getting slightly better. God, this guy's got some health, huh? The final Wesker fight is fun in 5.
Resident Evil 3.
God, this guy is so much more aggressive than any Resident Evil boss fight has been so far. It's like they really want you to use that dodge mechanic, but good luck with that. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe I need to get good at that. They said the grenade launcher. Let's try bringing the Magnum. Yeah, you think speedrunners can dodge consistently? Oh, good. My strategy is once I know I got a direct hit with the mine thrower, then I'll switch to the Magnum and shoot that same line. Hard to see him sometimes. I think I need to move the first time. I can never get a shot on him unless I move. I hate that I can skip everything but this. Yeah, most fight dodges are definitely by accident. For sure. Like, I wonder if just mashing can do it. I'm guessing not. Let me control her now. Right now. Really? Already I was dead? I guess I need to heal faster than that. So I get hit one time in the beginning, I better use a heal. Should have been a better start. It was a good start, then I just died. Maybe I should just eat a green herb. How many green herbs do I have? Take a normie green herb to top off a little bit. Just one more green herb I can't combine with a red herb. Maybe one's fine. This time for sure, maybe.
Stars.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Oh.
Stars.
What? Really? I don't know. She just didn't get up. I was mashing. I guess I gotta mash more. Jesus.
Resident Evil 3.
Alright, let's try a double green herb. Yeah, I know. Thanks. Wet floor.
Stars.
I think I just gotta be moving around a lot more than I am. Sometimes he just does that. Sometimes he just kind of comes at me. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up! Sorry about I'm dead. I didn't think I was that hurt. I was still running around. Let's start with the Magnum this time.
Resident Evil.
Not quite at the speed of sound, that's true. Oh, Mike fed the fuck up. I don't even know what face I accidentally made. I'm not raging. Don't write that I raged. Don't put it in the paper. Maybe I should take... Eat it. I should turn the freaking auto aim on for a moment. Might not be a terrible idea. It's in this one. It's in the options.
Stars.
Please get up. Now it's heal. Fucking hell. Oh my god. The explosions freaking hurt me, but whatever.
Stars.
Oh! So I thought I got him. I did not. I did not have him. He got back up. I guess I should just shoot him when he's on the ground there. That's the old fake out. God, do I even want these? Okay, now that I've learned that the freaking mine launchers can hurt me, maybe I should just not be using them on Nemesis. Maybe I should use the grenade launcher instead. Maybe I should use some flame rounds on him or something. I don't know. That was Harper. I thought I had him. Thought I had him. Yeah, let's just rethink our arsenal here. None of this. Screw it. Thank you, Snuff. Good night. Hey, Snuff. Lufkin Waters, thank you for following. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good night. Thank you very much. Nomad, thank you for the stream streak.
Stars.
Do I have that equipped? Oh my god. I might be fucking dead. Get up. Get the hell up. Yeah, hit him. He's stuck. Nope. I gotta really mash that. That's bullshit. I was trying to heal. Please don't kill me. Please let me get past you. No! Why didn't you get up? Took way too many resources, but I did it. Oh my god. I think I used all my big heals.
Carlos!
I got a couple red herbs and green herb combinations. Oh my god. That was by far the hardest fight I've had in one of these games. Jeez.
Jill! Jill! Hey.
I thought I was
don't
dead
die
there
on
for a
me.
moment. Oh, I'm all virused.
Jill! Jill!
October 1st, night. I woke up to the sound of falling rain. I can't believe I'm still alive.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey, we're in the clock tower again.
Carlos?
It looks like our roles have been reversed from when we originally met, huh? Don't worry, Jill. This chapel is safe.
I've been infected by the virus, haven't I?
Hey! Take it easy.
I'm okay. Don't feel any pain. But that's what bothers me. If I can't feel anything, then what does that mean?
Don't give up, Jill. I'll take care of you. Whatever you do, don't let that virus beat you.
Right, so the events of Resident Evil 2 just happened during all that. Alright, here we go. A little Carlos sequence. That's not gonna use that break, that's for sure. Make a new save just in case we decide that we use too many resources there, but I feel like that's the place to use resources, was that fight right there. That was some tough shit. You really have to move around, because like, so many of these games you kind of just sort of stand your ground, tank it. That one you could not. So where do we think we're going exactly? Forget. So right, in the remake, Jill never goes to the RPD, and Carlos's section is in the RPD. Must be something to do with that street, because we never really did anything with Jill in that street. We can't leave out the front door or go upstairs, so I guess we're definitely being funneled in one direction here. What was if you don't have enough ammo? I think that would be a soft lock. I know you have those sometimes in these older Resident Evil games. I know Code Veronica is apparently infamous for them. I gotta be careful on that one. I mean, that's why, you know, it's like it was painful, but so often I was trying to run past zombies. Save a lot of my bigger ammo for those fights. Sure. Take your knife, buddy. I don't think I need to save. Why is the first Resident Evil 1 remake so good? It's gorgeous for one thing. It's well balanced. It's difficult, but in fair ways. I mean, a lot of it is the visuals, man. That is a pretty looking video game. Stay down, dude. Whoops. I thought there'd be something here. Guess not. Just a waste of resources. Yeah, especially if you want to play like the class of the tank control classic ones. I think RE1 Remake is still the best. Resident Evil 2 also very good. Okay, well, if I'm not this way, where am I going? Upstairs? Yeah, Resident Evil 4 and the remake are also great. Definitely a little bit of a different flavor. Hey, Baba, is me. Shoot some spiders just to feel something. It's kind of use it or lose it with the ammo I have here. Oh, there's this big bell. I'm big, strong man can push it. I see. I see. I see what's happening here. See you later. I think I missed my chance to do this correctly. It's alright, next time we'll get them with the exploding barrel. remember the hospital. There was a kind of like hold your ground part of the hospital. The hospital was like a relatively large sequence of the last one. Plenty of ammo. First floor and... Nice blood stain there. Oh, this is some good looking shit here. Ah, shit. What's that? Come on. Well, that didn't go amazing. Hunters, right. Ink ribbons. I was a little concerned with how this has been going. I'm gonna save, but I might put it on a new save. I feel like I could have had a better start over here. Or are you gonna use reborn controls or whoop controls if I'm supporting? Look, honestly, like after seeing what they're saying, it seems pretty clear to me that the evolved format is what that's where they're going. I think the whole reborn even being an option is just kind of their way of trying to ease people into it a bit. Almost like in a way it feels like a half measure. I think eventually it's just going to be the evolved ones. I mean, the new jobs are just going to have evolved, right? I think they wanted to redo the combat in the entire game, and some people were like, what if people don't like it? People are going to be mad, everything's different. So they're still allowing the old rotations for a while. I don't think forever, though. But they even said, like, the new rotations are stronger. So the raiders are going to adopt them. Well, like, the game has too many buttons, and some of the stuff, like, and some of the new jobs are doing this already, but there's so often where characters have a 3-hit combo. And some jobs, like, yeah, just push one button 3 times, it'll automatically change for the next step of the combo. But other jobs just weren't doing that for some reason. It's like, this is doing that. That's good. What's new combat like? It's still an MMO. Honestly, I haven't been able to, like, look too much into it. What's this? Just another clip for this thing, because I need that. Tape recorder. Oh, it's a cool pizza calendar. You buy a cool pizza calendar online? The hardest puzzle in the world.
There appears to be a slight fracture in his right arm just below the elbow. However...
How do I rate the OGs to the newer games? I mean, it's a little bit like... I think I like Resident Evil 1, like base Resident Evil 1 and 2, more than I like, say, even 7 or 8. Now, why do I need a blue herb? 2 remake, 4 remake, and 1 remake are still like my favorites. I mean, somebody somewhere is working on a project that is called Final Fantasy 17 right now. Who knows what that looks like? It's impossible to know. Yeah, I never did play that. What, Imagine? Shin Megami Tensei MMO? I like to look at this hospital a lot.
Nikolai? You're still alive?
You saw what happened?
Kill
What's
him.
going on?
I'm one of the supervisors. That's all you need to know.
Wait!
This guy. Shoot him! Oh, there he goes. Hey, Storm. Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 3 has got to be soon, which is super exciting to me. I've liked those games a lot. So it seems like in the... I can't remember, but I feel like in the remake, the hospital's more of a Jill section. This is a neat switch. I would like to see Final Fantasy go back to something like turn-based. I don't expect it to just be like the ATB system again or play Final Fantasy 1, but I definitely want something... I want something that's more turn-based than character action, straight up. I don't... And look, where am I going? I know that 16 has its fans. I don't think it was the right direction. I have not even finished 16 someday. Anyway. Well, you're the fastest zombie in the world. What the hell is that? Oh, for God's sake. Should have seen that one coming. What if next Final Fantasy this Valkyria's Chronicle style based action comes? That'd be fine. Something like that. I mean, even if it was like the 7 remake stuff, that's a much better compromise than what 16 did. 7 remakes combat is amazing. I mean, honestly, just use that. We could use that in more games. We had like 15 games use the ATB system in one way or another. And now we come up with one good combat system. It's like, well, we can only use that for a few games. There's gotta be something in this room. I didn't just come in here for no reason, did I? What? What's been placed here? What are you talking about? What is that? That is a weird thing to get. Wait, you're like looking at calendars? I mean, I'm gonna check out Rebirth out of curiosity. It's not like I'm gonna play the game again, but I'm very interested to see how that runs on Switch too. Rebirth ran surprisingly really well on Switch too. Is this box something? Really? There's nothing in here? Just took a bunch of hits and wasted some ammo for no reason. That's nice. Right. I feel like people do kind of forget that 15 also was like, I don't know. 15 also is not a turn-based game at all. It's kind of, its combat is like, it's not character action though, but it's an action RPG. That's the thing. If you want to make an action RPG, that's fine. You couldn't even really call Final Fantasy 16 an action RPG, not any more than you would call like God of War an action RPG. Something seems to have been placed here. What is this? What is going on? Maybe I should be... I guess I could go to the basement. Right, 17... I mean, that was one of the problems with 16, is in their efforts to make it... I don't know. They were convinced that the more approachable they make it, the more people will show up. Even though it's kind of the opposite with a lot of action games these days. Like, everyone's favorite action games are generally pretty hard and deep. Like your Dark Souls and your Sekiros and things like that. Like I'm a big point at this point with me was doing a cool boss fight that had multiple phases and dying in it, and like it wasn't even just like it'd be one thing the game's like, oh, just try the boss from the beginning. That's fine. It was like, oh, you can start the boss fight over with full health at the phase you died at. I was like, geez, come on. It almost does feel like it's kind of insulting at that point. I don't know. It's just kind of pandering. Like, I don't want to beat the boss fight. I don't really feel like I beat the boss fight. I gotta be honest. You could start it over from the beginning. It's fine. Yeah. Lucky dodge. I'm gonna be in big trouble if I run out of ammo for these guys. Cool. Let's go to the basement first this time. I mean, I know not to go to those rooms upstairs for no reason. Decap attack.
Resident Evil 3.
I am an Ace Attorney fan. I like those games a lot. There are a couple I need to play. I still need to play Great Ace Attorney 2. I think I might do soon. And the Miles Edgeworth Investigation 2. But boy, especially like that original trilogy, when those were like coming out on the DS at the time, I thought those were the greatest things ever. Like, they really clicked the same part of my brain as those LucasArts adventure games did. Okay, this little puzzle again. Well, Saros is also getting reviewed very well, so who knows? I have no idea. As somebody who didn't even really like, I didn't even see this before. Number 10. Yeah, I do love that guy saying Resident Evil. I'm like the weirdo who didn't even really like Returnal that much, which I don't know, maybe I need to play it again. Everyone loves Returnal. I will say, like, I think it's up now, that kind of quick look at review and progress thing of Saros. Watching Jeff play it, that boss fight looks super fun. Yeah, I know Dan loved Returnal. Yeah, we can go to the basement first this time. So let's try. Remember, we might need to heal if we take a hit. I like there's like a little bit of that Ikaruga aspect to it. Yeah, I mean, there's some aspect of roguelikes getting a little easy. Like, it's hard to, like Hades, I don't know, Hades, oh, fine. There's only vampire crawlers. Like, later in the game, this is getting challenging enough. Okay, so I guess they didn't spawn this time. Weird. Yeah, this random enemy element thing's interesting.
I had no idea another guinea pig was still alive.
What are you doing? Have you lost your mind?
Oh, that's interesting.
Sometimes it's easy to forget one's loyalties. Just like that traitor.
You mean the guy who shot you?
Yeah, you know him.
Huh.
The one with the gray hair and the ugly mug. I can't believe he had the guts to shoot me. That traitor!
You mean Nikolai?
Ah!
Huh. Yeah, it's a grenade guy. We just saw him die a different way. That's interesting. Why'd you open that, sir? What were you hoping to find there? That was weird. What's gonna happen when I go upstairs now? Yeah, I want to play Splatoon 3 side dish. I played a lot of the other campaigns right when the Switch 2 came out, when there like wasn't a ton new yet to play. I played through, like, I finished 2 campaigns, and I played through the Octopath expansion. I played base Splatoon 3 campaign. The base Splatoon 3 campaign was really good. They're all really good, actually. They do a good job with this. I'm kind of excited for Raiders. We've seen our Lord video on Giant Bomb. Look, we joke about it, but boy, when we played Lord, there were people who were like, UPF sucks now. People really hated Lord. It was weird. It's very different. Oh my god. Can I do this? I can do that. Right, it's wrapped around to being a meme. But people acted like Lord was an atrocity. Fucking... Okay, can I... Oh, that's such bullshit. Yeah, I see you. Could have been worse. Well, last time I went in the sick room, there was nothing in there, but well, maybe this time. No, Nikolai's not even here. Maybe with the sick room, we'll have something in it this time. Which series has better pre-rendered backgrounds, Resident Evil or Myst? I mean, no, but no game has better pre-rendered backgrounds than Resident Evil 1 Remake. Mystery and Myst were very pretty pre-rendered backgrounds, though. Okay. It occurs to me that I can push this thing. That's what I'm looking at. It's the corners. Come on. I don't know where I'm pushing it. To what end? We can push it. Yeah, I love when it tells me I can Discord. I mean, Grim Fandango has amazing pre-rendered backgrounds as well. Come on. Cool. I guess not that one. I wonder if I'm like supposed to look at this room and see where it is and then like repeat it. I've seen the Scooby-Doo in N64. Wait, the one that's Resident Evil Scooby-Doo? No, I've seen the one that's like a... I don't know, Scooby-Doo. Maybe it's... I don't know, I've seen one. I don't know if I would say it's like Resident Evil. I saw Thab play it. Okay, this one's in that like top right corner. Jesus Christ, get off of me, dude. Got fixed camera, take control puzzle. Yeah, maybe I do know the one. The one, it's like his greatest mysteries or whatever. There's a sequence in a ski lodge. Super Nintendo has that like Scum style LucasArts adventure game-esque Scooby-Doo game as well. So there's all sorts of Scooby-Doo games. Anyone else really fall for Rick Coin? I mean, I certainly did, but I didn't really like it that much to begin with. I don't know. I didn't think it was nearly as satisfying as some other roguelikes. I think the early game in Rick Coin is kind of dull. And I don't know. A little weird. Not bad, but... For crying out loud. And it's not that one either, then. I feel like I should try the top left one since it's close, but my gut tells me it's the one that's the most obnoxious to have to push it to. No. First try. Number-based lock? Well, I do not know. Is there anything in the director's diary about a number? Maybe in that other room there's something. 69, 420, let's go! I mean, is it just the room number? Is it just 402? That'd be a real stupid password. But maybe. It is 3 numbers, but apparently not that. Maybe it's 401. Alright. You think you're gonna do a 10K? Oh, nice. You got Ridge Racer Type 4 songs would be amazing on a kind of running playlist. Boy, I can't believe it wasn't 402. Like, I can't do anything with that one. Try not to let this zombie touch me again. Could be a date. And It's just that guy with this girl. Wait, what about this picture? I never looked at this. Okay. I thought I picked up a picture at one point and never looked at it, and now I'm wondering if I did that before I died that time. Oh, never mind. There it is. You know what's funny? Didn't even mean to look at that guy. I was trying to lead through the door. Sometimes you get lucky. Thank you, Kane. Alright, 531. Alright, I get to save my new hot friend now. Wait, it's just the base of the vaccine. We need more. I need a medium vaccine as well. Where will we get a medium? Gotta be somewhere in the basement, right? We have to medium it. It feels like we never really accomplished anything in the basement. Gotta be something down here. Good hallways. He's got the Roger Cube, Diablo 2, hell yeah. Yeah, all this shit, there's gotta be something in here. Manic Shoes 42, thank you for following. Appreciate that. Hope you're having a good weekend. Thank you. Yeah, I got to check out the new Diablo expansion for a bit ahead of time, and it was pretty good. I was enjoying it. I liked the Warlock a lot. Have I never opened this door? Am I an idiot? I didn't notice this door. Guess not. Nope, this looks like the place. And nothing in here is going to try to hurt me or anything. In order to activate the synthesizer to cultivate a vaccine, please follow the procedures detailed below. 1. Supply enough energy to the system. Set the medium base to the device. When the device is ready, you can start mixing vaccine. Mix vaccine, you will need to control the 5 levers. This will cause the 2 gauges to... If you adjust the 2 gauges so that they stop at the center, the vaccine medium will then be produced automatically. Wow, doesn't seem complicated at all. That guy is definitely bursting out of there to attack me at some point. Guess I will. Oh, good. That's fucking close. How am I this close? Let's go. Alright, come on, guys. Go ahead. You can burst out of your thing now. There we go. Oh, shit. I thought I could... Oh, I overshot the door. Oh, no, 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 no! When did I last save? I didn't. I just overshot the door. I panicked. I didn't open up my menu. Okay, that's fine. No, this is a good thing. We're going to do this so much faster this time. Honestly, we will. We know exactly what to do now. It's going to be like nothing. We're going to save so many more resources. We don't even have to go in that other room. Well, actually, I do because I forget the password. You'll see. You'll see. It's going to be great. Ugh. I should have just shot them, but I was like, I don't have time for that. For no reason. You gonna grab a drink? That's fine. I'm not even gonna pick up this fucking blue herb, man. Who's the best Mega Man standard enemy? Why is it Mega Man 6 the Shigaraki from Yamato Man's Age? I mean, I like a good old-fashioned Met, even though they're kind of annoying to actually fight. Same thing with the Sniper Joes or Ballista Joes or all the Joes.
There also appears to be a slight fracture in his right arm just below the elbow. However...
Guess we... Oh, excellent. Go to the top floor. I guess we'll do this route again. Why not? Less zombies to deal with up here.
Don't shoot!
Nice storm. I was thinking because like I need to get a new car soon, and I literally thought I better measure my garage and measure the cars. I just have this one car garage. It's not huge. Make sure it can actually fit. Might need to get like a compact. I don't know. Fire's best friend. Thank you so much for following. Appreciate. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. 531. Probably no more Jeep life. I don't want to buy a new Jeep. It's kind of expensive. I miss the ducks and the waving, but I don't think I can be about that anymore. See, I have to say, I know Kias make good cars. I struggle with the IKEA brand. I still think about those weird, like, hamster or gerbil commercials they made that for a while there, and I never liked those. They weirded me out. You know, you can get with this, you can get with that thing. I don't know. And plus, Marcus's Kia exploded, apparently, and that seems bad. So they weren't whimsical. Those things were not whimsical. They were scary. Where the Pui Pui Molcar? No. 531, I almost immediately forgot. Oh, accidentally hit 2. I don't know why I'm carrying the ink ribbons around with me now. I guess I thought the sequence would be shorter than it is. I kind of like how surprisingly beefy it's been. But I put the knife away too. Declarius, thank you for following. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Could have gone back to first floor and saved, I guess. Now the zombies are just here instead, I think. Okay, never mind, there's too many of them still. Why? I can't see the zombies, dude. Alright, it worked. Those guys still are gonna be down here. Yep. There we go. Look at that, pro strats. Well, I really should have saved. That's okay. We have these. I can only pick one up right now. You know what? We're gonna get back in that there elevator. We're gonna go and save and drop off some of this stuff I don't need. It's gonna be fine. We've got time. Brockness, thank you so much for being here. I don't know why. I went into my spiel like you just subscribed or followed. But hi, I meant to say hi. I am happy to see you. I hope you're doing well, Brockness. I went into my subscriber voice there for a moment. First floor. Yeah, like the big reason I want to do cars because my heater has not been working great on the Jeep, and we had a really cold winter here, and it was pretty rough getting through it with it. It's like a 2014, so it's old enough. The miles are fine. It only has just over 60,000 miles, which is nothing because I work from home, but kind of a little irrelevant. I like this Carlos sequence. Is this the right door? I didn't think so. This one. Yeah, it's weird for like a... Because this is like the first character to be playable in a Resident Evil who is like just like a one game character, right? Everyone else who gets this much screen time, Resident Evil, gets to kind of like have a significant role in the plot. And yeah, in the future we'll have more. Yeah, there'll be other ones. But this is the first one. Right up until this point, if you're in a Resident Evil this much, you're going to be in a bunch of these games. Everyone's saying Sheva. Yeah, Sheva's much later. Even Ashley Graham's still just in Resident Evil 4. Yes, and Billy, Resident Evil 0. You could say Rebecca then. I mean, she's been in 2 games. I wouldn't say Rebecca. You see her picture in other games. Yeah, Barry's been in 2 games and is mentioned a lot at least. Oh yeah, I've never completed a run of Resident Evil 1, either version. That's Chris. Maybe someday. Well, I don't remember the solution to this. They're just gonna mess around with it again. Imagine if it was like Carlos and Sheva as the main characters of the Resident Evil. I think that'd be neat. I'll take a Billy Carlos buddy cop thing. That seems bad. Ugh. Now, come on. Close, but not quite. Oh, so close. Why am I so bad at this? Definitely not that. I feel like there's a logic to this that I am missing. It's close. Yeah. So close. That's not what I want. one. Any moment now. Oh, that's bad. Closer. Oh, how am I that close? I think I would have stumbled into it by now. Close again. First try. I should have taken a mental map of what those were in case I die here again, but I didn't. There you go. Down, right, down, down, right. You know what? Gonna do a little drawing for me. There we go. Yeah, don't overshoot the door this time. Run past that first guy, that's fine. I just saved a moment ago. Almost got me. I ran past it again for a moment. I feel like there's gonna be people in this hallway now. Are Albert, Wesker, and Ethan Winters the two most dead of dead characters? There's a lot of those, like, star guys that show up for a little bit in the first Resident Evil that are pretty dead, right? None of those guys ever came back. They better not. I think it'd be so lame to bring Wesker back. I didn't even, like, it was a fake out, but I didn't even really like what they did in 9 with that stuff. Especially when Gideon was such a good villain. Just keep Gideon. At least this elevator door makes a nice little funnel. I guess I'll save again. I don't think I'm gonna, like, be able to give these ink ribbons back to Jill. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll let y'all enjoy the save room music. Be right back. Great Lake Mexican lagers and stores. Sure sign that summer is almost here. Wait, what? Why? One moment, please. I mean, the exit's right here. Oh, it's like it's counting down by the seconds. There was a tin whistle redeem. One moment. We have to watch this building explode. Thank you, Fear Gaming, for following. Appreciate it. Yeah, that hospital sequence is very different in the remake from what I remember. The remake is really different. You know what? I'm probably gonna have to turn off my gate. I always forget how to do this. Thank you so much, JM Gallup, for following. Appreciate it. You're doing well. Yeah, let's turn this off for a moment. Oh, I'm gonna be really bright for a second here. Haven't done that. All right. There you go. Thank you very much. Let me turn the gate back on. Thank you, Marcus. Been working on those things. All right. Is that the Mocus movie? Yeah, it's Braveheart. The hell? Now what? No. Not dealing with you all. For fuck's sakes. Spiders. Yeah. Straight through here. There's just always the chance when those zombies can freaking poison you. Look who's back. Absolutely not. It's funny how the zombie, like the antidote for the horrible zombie outbreak is suddenly pretty easy to find when a main character is infected. Ah, you can't come in here. This is a safe room. Eat shit. Using way more save files than I did for 2. Granted, I guess that's across 2 campaigns.
Hey! Are you okay?
Yes. Barely. What's going on?
No way! That monster just doesn't give up!
What? I thought we killed that thing!
That line feels like it was pulled
No,
from like
it's been waiting for you!
He's playing with us. Carlos, do you think that it's unstoppable?
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry, Jill, but I've got to go take care of a few things. Oh, and
What things?
bad news. Nikolai is still alive.
Nikolai?
I think we should
Are
stick
you
together.
Yes. I don't know how, but I do know that he is our enemy. Remember, don't trust him.
I never trusted him. You sure we shouldn't stick together? No? Let's go. I assume we need to go out the way he came in. Yeah. How did Carlos get out? I guess Nemesis only cares about Jill. Easy fast. Yeah, I played those Lord of the Rings games back in the day, yeah. Never played the Third Age. I have it for the GameCube. Maybe someday. Is it this room? Yep. Hey, at least the spiders aren't here. Those zombies are gone. The date for Star Wars Racers leaked. What does the leak say? All right. Oh no. Well, if I die, I know to bring my lockpick with me. October? I can't wait for that game. Okay, there's a save room right over there. If I have to run into him, we're just gonna reload. It'd be so much easier just to know I need the lockpick. Gotta hope that game's good, and not just because I have it in my fancy critic. I'm a lot better at handling with the pick controls on the analog stick. Gotten used to it. Right here. I feel like I should be using the mines against, like, normie enemies. So let's maybe do this for now. Save the grenade launcher for boss fights, honestly. Mines will be good for, like, groups of zombies. They call it a mine. A mine! Right? Yep. Shadows of the Empire Blakely? No. I understand, like, it has some rough edges, but one, it's a neat game. Two, really big deal at the time. I don't know. I have a giant soft spot for Shadows of the Empire, man. You have to remember that the whole Shadows of the Empire initiative was at a time when the prequels still were pretty far away. I don't think I even knew if they were announced yet. Like, Shadows of the Empire was like, whoa, it's new Star Wars stuff. What's the closest to a Blade Star Wars game? Good question, because, like, a lot of them aren't just not that bad, and if anything, they're pretty good. Or at least okay. Yeah, it's like Terrace Kasi. With even that, the fact people act like that game is some atrocity is wild. It's like, I mean, it's not good. Even Star Wars Connect. I mean, it's a Connect game. I bet Bombat Racing, even that, it's like, whatever. Okay, new save room. 3 ink ribbons. We're living Moss. All right. I was hoping it'd be Magnum ammo, but I'll take that. Yeah, there's some bad, like, yeah, there's like Empire Strikes Back on the NES. The Super Star Wars games are very hard. Rebel Assault, oh, Rebel Assault is so charming. I like Rebel Assault and Rebel Assault too. Oh, the episode 1 game for PS1, I think, also has a lot of charm. I'm sorry. We had that game on PC. Looked very nice. The Yoda game? You don't mean Yoda's Stories or whatever. Yoda's Pocket Adventure or whatever. The Obi-Wan game for Xbox is very okay. I kind of want to play it. It's not nothing to write home about. Yeah, yeah, like, the episode 1 game is like so from an from an era before 3D action games were a bit more figured out. There's also that they make the Tatooine section of that game basically play like a LucasArts adventure game, which is really neat. Jedi Power Battles is, a lot of people have a ton of nostalgia for that. I don't have that much nostalgia for it compared to some people, but I still like it fine. Damn it. Yeah, I'm Air Force Commander. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I almost wish I could take a screenshot of this. Wait, can I? go. Such a sneaky boy. I don't think I've ever played Zero Company. I got really bright there, I'm sorry. Alright, one second. I don't even know what I want to do yet. Is that all it is? Black, black, white, white. It's like the one that wasn't on there. Well, like now I'm like, what about all these other things? They weren't they were for nothing? All these other combinations? There are like some items I can get. Oh, speaking of items. I really don't think I need any more blue earth. I guess I could pick one up. It just combine one into my green, red, or blue green mix. Hey, John Solo PDX. Thank you so much for following. Hope you're having a good weekend. Appreciate it. Oh man, it's like a gray mismatch. I mean, the problem with like making Dan play a Hulk Hogan game, and like Hulk Hogan for Connect, for instance, we have to get Dan to dress like Hulk Hogan, and it's like, haha, dress as this racist, you know? Did I do that perfectly? Yeah, yes, to be clear, we won't actually make Dan dress up like Osama bin Laden, I'm afraid. I know, we're cowards. Well, we had to get to a sewer eventually. What the hell are these things? More so think of Dan playing Space Ace. I think 2. But I don't know. That was this. Oh, that's what's going on there. Patrick. I see him blow up. Yeah, wait till other people come by. Neat. Jesus, come on. Father. This should a bit more damage, but it's fun. Right, no, yes, we can't. I mean, I don't know if it's a rule we've ever had to make. 86, I was born that year. But yes, we're not going to blight somebody with a repeat game. Good game for iPad 12? Actual happy and unlifting game. Is that what we do? Man, they know that fucking Nemesis fight took a lot of it out of me because they're giving me a bunch of herbs all of a sudden. Okay, what did this door say? Human Park Cemetery, so I guess I need the cemetery key. Well, look, I'm shocked they haven't given me Bound Wonder World yet, or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, that's right. Oh. Yeah, what's all this over there? I guess I'm going back. Run, Jill. Too human. I think the Resident Evil 60 would be more like its own feature. We might work the Blight branding in there. I don't know. Yep, oh, come on, come on. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, 1 second. I really fucked this up. Oh my god. Yeah, great moves, but whatever. Good enough. Weird. What was the Alpha Protocol feature called? What was that called? Yeah, something gay cheetah. Oh boy. Jesus. That's a lot of dogs. These dogs take so many shotgun. Oh shit. Oh no. Don't do that. Okay. Stop dodging. I'm trying to shoot. I had that under control for a moment. Ugh. Play it forward. The idea, I think the parsec tech wasn't quite as good as we hoped. Check the guinea pig's ability to accomplish the mission. Who's the guinea pig? I wonder if that's Nemesis. We're gonna called Winnie's Pole. Oh, it's a Winnie Pooh knockoff him. Excuse me. What's the most blight-worthy Nintendo-made game? It's interesting. Those Magnum rounds. It's like I feel like my least favorite Nintendo made one is like Sticker Star. I don't know if that's a blight game. I think it's just a kind of a disappointing mess of a game. This where Dino Crisis takes place? Come on, you're the master of unlocking. I don't even have that. I need to go back to that save room. No Crossing and Meat Festival. Even like the bad Nintendo games, and they are bad. I don't know if they're like funny blight games, you know? Geist? You think Geist is... I want to play Geist. I think I'm going to like Geist. I don't know. That worked a trick. Bug Island. Maybe Bug Island. Endless Ocean Luminous was supposedly bad, but like, I feel like it's probably more boring than anything. Kind of boring and ugly is my guess. Are that game's sins? Was Devil's Third Nintendo published? It might have been Nintendo published, right? But there's that one. Things are so weird, you can't, like, reload them for some reason. Belsard's rat. Let's see. Oh, I mean, maybe a little bit, TR Bucket. Because she didn't wear a skirt and, like, her shirt actually, her top actually had, you know, support. She wasn't dressed like a 90s girl going out to the club. All right. It would have been more efficient to go to that right path first, but that's okay. Spiders. Come on. Okay, we've cleared this cemetery out. This should be easy. I will. It's gonna be a save room up ahead. Oh wow. Oh, we'll take a pipe, I guess. All these goodies. I wonder if it's like gonna be worth making magnum ammo. What do I make magnum ammo? Let's see. I have not seen C, unless this is C right here. C, C, and C for magnum bullets. I don't even know if it's worth it at that point. Am I crazy? I feel like I've never seen C ammo. I missed it. Are there any games for Blight Club? I don't think anyone's ever refused a Blight Club game. I don't know. I think there's been ones where like you know, people ask like Quest 64 a lot, and we're like, does that really make sense? I don't know. At least I know it's fine to just kind of make handgun ammo. Guess I could save it to make more ammo for the grenade launcher, but I don't know. Anyways, but making this is completely fine. Yeah, shotgun shells for days. At least one of these. Bart's Nightmare is better than Virtual Bart, to be honest. I'll take Bart's Nightmare over that. There's worse Simpsons games. That's honest, Tom. Yeah, I'll have to ask Matt if he's got any ideas. This is a cool looking save room, by the way. I like it. It's weird. It's like the worst. Like everyone says, the worst Simpsons game is Simpsons Wrestling, but it's like it's not that much of a game. Wouldn't it be very interesting for Blight Club? Just a lame fighting game. Oh, speak of the devil tier bucket. Like maybe that'd be something we'd play at a PAX or something. Actually. So, I had Bart's Nightmare as a kid, and even though it's not very good and it's very difficult, I kind of liked it. I played a lot of it. Never get equal parts B, but that's okay. Where'd I still have this stars card? Yeah, we have a Simpsons wrestling tournament. The water slide level in Virtual Bard is insane. There's like a trick to it I didn't even know for a long time. Yeah, but it turns out like you don't have to guess. There's like something, there's some way you're supposed to actually figure out which way to go next. Maybe I should light a fire there. I do have a lighter. Been a moment. Yeah, it is kind of like Sewer Shark. And you all know I'm a Sewer Shark defender. I think I still have this thing. Let's see if I can light this fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Oh, yeah. Well, well, well. Guess we know what the pipe was for. Their ability, the contaminated guinea pigs, is truly incredible. Even when shot in a vital area, they can sometimes survive for several days without taking care of the wound. However, after prolonged exposure to the virus, the guinea pig's intelligence level decreases to that of an insect. Even though reviving the dead seems too disgusting, the virus may still be of use. We inject the virus into our POWs and release them. They would return to their units and then turn into zombies. Burns into zombies. They may work well for us in the future. But as the virus seems to have caused the mutation of animals and plants, it may be difficult. Be a good sample for the bioweapon development. I've heard that there is a giant alligator, but I've only encountered a giant creature moving about underground. Don't even want to imagine what creature spawned that monster. I encountered Nemesis. If I didn't know about it, I'd have been contaminated and would have become one of them by now. If it is still walking around the city, its mission is not yet over. STARS members must be very tough since they have survived until this point. However, cannot hold out forever. No. Okay. That's lucky. Attention! The Raccoon City project has been abandoned. Our political maneuvering in the Senate to delay their plans are now futile. All supervisors should evacuate immediately. This army is going to execute their plan tomorrow morning. The city will be obliterated at daybreak for sure. Oh, good. Yes, I will take those. Carlos?
All supervisors, mission terminated. Return immediately. Repeat. All supervisors return immediately. Over.
This is a weird umbrella bunker thing. Alright, so we gotta go back underground, back over here now.
I'm quite impressed you've managed to stay alive up until now.
Shoot him.
And you seem to be doing a pretty good job of looking out for yourself. How about helping out?
I have no intention of helping you.
Because we're nothing but pawns in all this?
In a manner of speaking, you are. Our employers wanted a detailed analysis of the zombie beings which were created through infection by the T-virus.
You're saying that they deliberately sent in a military unit to be butchered by their creations?
Not exactly. Although the conditions encountered on this operation were extreme, it was an unexpected outcome that the team would be wiped out. We were only required to collect live data from the subjects.
Ah!
Another mutant!
Well, bye. Well, normally I wouldn't have saved so soon, but I just got 3 more ink ribbons. I think it's fine. We're gonna get a terrible rating, but that's okay. Maybe we'll make a new slot just in case. There are guys quest mode, but I feel like a good game having a bad mode, that's not really Blade Spirit to me. Guys is also not a good game. Oh, come on. Guys is fine. Jesus. What is going on? I say because I feel like I'm going to have to fight another boss soon.
Whoa! What is that?
Definitely more CG cutscenes in this one. Tell they're proud of them. Why can't I leave? Am I supposed to fight? Did I do something wrong? Guess I have to fight. Good thing I have so many heals. What? No. Oh, there's that mine that hasn't exploded yet. Oh, cool, exploded on me. Can't see anything. Let's prepare better for that, I guess. Let's not bring the mines, let's bring the grenade launcher.
Resident
I'm glad I saved. Where are you, grenade launcher? Guess walk without rhythm, exactly. Whoops. Not that way. Hey, thank you for the 50 stream streak, Bloodborne. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thank you. This. It's awkward, but you know, so we got okay. I use all my bullets here. That was behind me. So use these now. What was that supposed to indicate? What do you mean by that, game? I mean, I kind of get it. But, like, I've never seen him over there in the water. Yeah, let's try that again. Maybe I could do that from the beginning. They have a lot of ammo. I think maybe that was the game just trying to tell me, hey, do this.
Evil 3.
What's been your favorite Blight Club season? Season? I don't know if I can remember, like, the specific seasons. Right, like a turn. I don't know. I feel like when I did RoboCop, it went right to Grub doing Back Grub, and then Dan, Superman 64. I think that was pretty good, right? Or, like, is that the season, or was the season Sonic, Bubsy, RoboCop? It's kind of hard to say. RoboCop was my first one. Obviously, I didn't join till like halfway through thing. Yeah. I mean, there's things like the Blightning rounds, which Blightning rounds have been a fun disaster. That katana was so long. Okay, like, I get it, but, like... So I kind of don't. Also, it's not moving anymore, so... Okay. So this is me asking, I have to hurt him enough, or do I have to dodge him enough until the earthquake happens, and then I can shoot the electrical thingies? Does anyone know if it's one or the other?
Resident Evil 3.
Would rather not waste ammo. This game's boss fights or something, huh? You don't have to use any ammo or health if you do them properly. It's timer, that's what I thought. So just dodge, earthquake, shoot light. I mean, I suppose maybe I should get the knife. I can just use the knife on the fucking lights. Your time to shine, knife. There's no bad option. It's true. Wish I knew why, like... Nah, yeah, go away. Again, it's like I could dodge these attacks, I suppose, but it's not easy. I think this game's boss fights are bad.
Resident Evil 3.
I feel like they put boss fights from another game that doesn't have tank controls into this game. And I'm a tank control defender. It's a little weird. It's a little. They're kind of weird. Or like they expect you to use this dodge mechanic that kind of doesn't work. In my opinion. I'm not turning on it. There's a reason Resident Evil 2 barely even had any boss fights, you know? I mean, I'm sure the freezing grenades would help a ton. I've never seen C ammo. I don't have the freezing grenades. Not those. Alright, well, that's alright. I don't need them. I'm gonna dodge him. I'm trying so hard to dodge the attacks. Let's just run back and forth for a while like an idiot. You kind of use the pawn here to sneak around him a little. Here we go. Doesn't fucking work. Come and get me. First try. Acid rounds. I never had acid rounds either. Yeah, I can't believe the knife wouldn't knock that thing over. I will climb up the fence. Thank you. Where am I? Right. Sorry, that poisoned me. Nope, but I'm hurt. It took way too much healing. Good night, Bucket. Yeah, part of me wonders if next save room, if I should stop and beat the rest later, I can tell I'm closest to the end, but might be one more stream. I don't know if it's worth pushing through tonight for. It's already pretty late. What the hell? Where did you guys come from? Supposed to hit your head? I probably didn't need to shoot that one. I've got the ammo. I hope I have some. I hope they give me some more healings, because that took a lot out of me. Oopsie do. I don't even remember a park section in the remake. If there was, again, I don't remember. They removed it. Okay. Yeah, it's just wild how different the two are. Oh, God. Run! Oh, great.
Stars.
Oh, shit. I have not gotten to save since. Push him off. Push! There you go. I knew you could do it. I knew you strong. Is that a Mako reactor up ahead? I ain't jumping. Yeah, I feel like the death factor here is probably our last major section, if I was to guess.
Carlos.
Jill,
Give it all that
listen
shucking.
very carefully. They're planning on launching a missile directly into the city as soon as day breaks. The explosion will be powerful enough to destroy everything.
Are you sure about that?
We saw it
Positive.
ourselves.
I heard it straight from a supervisor.
They'll go this far to cover their tracks?
Come on, we have to hurry. There isn't much time left.
Yeah, good. Good. Man, there's tons of ammo. Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. I know how you make Type C ammo. You combine Type A and Type B, don't you? I'm like, I've never seen any Type C ammo. Yes, Mike, right. Now, I mean, my question now is, like, is it really worth... Like, I could have 3 things of, Like, to make Magnum ammo would require me to first combine A beam ammo 3 times, and then combine all of those. That's not worth it. So, yeah, there's still a part of me it's like, I don't know if it's worth making C ammo. I mean, it'd be fine. I mean, I have enough grenade launcher stuff, you know? I'm not that worried about it. This is an organized button. At least for now, I can just store the ammo. I can make whatever I need later. Plenty of ink ribbons still. Anything else in here? Looks like Major's diary. It's my 30th birthday. Wow. Transfer to this facility today. I'm very happy because the work environment is very different from life in the university. The disposal system has been completed using a special kind of gas that can decompose the cells of the guinea pigs. You have to try this out before beginning practical usage of the system since it is not 100% stable. Hey, it's today. Well, it was today, a few hours ago. How about that? While I was checking the treatment room, the door shut and I was locked inside. I couldn't get out for 1 hour. I guess if you have the key card, it's useless when you're locked inside. The guinea pigs we have to dispose of are increasing. The system is not working smoothly. The laboratory staff doesn't listen to my opinions, and I am getting extremely frustrated. We can't dispose of all the bodies, and the quality of the liquid mess is not good enough either. Though the function of the system decreases, the number of the bodies we have to dispose of doesn't. Infection level has increased, and the antibodies we are using is no match for the new mutation of the virus. Some workers have been infected by the disease. I continue to work, but I always keep a gun with me. Let's remember to save one bullet for me. I want to weep. I don't want to die here. I swear that I'll lose my mind if I imagine how painful the death will be. Oh, fun. Sounds nice. Nice place. Oh, man, there's more ink ribbons. Yeah, we definitely have enough ink ribbons also, and I was worried about that at the beginning of the stream. Alright. We could, yeah, it's too late to push through. I bet there's like maybe an hour left. We'll get it. They see the 10-hour supercut of Disney Castle intros. No. I saw that Disney put out a 1 hour long, like, vibe video with Living at the Land, so that's good. Hey, happy birthday, Indy. Guess we saved, so we're good. We'll be beating this game tomorrow, everybody. Look forward to that. It's funny, aside from the boss fights, which were terrible, I think I liked this part of the game more than that first part, even in the city. Yeah, it's been good. All right, it's very late. I don't know if anybody's streaming. Kind of funny is still doing that Pokemon thing. Oh, Nocturnal Hannah is still playing Grandy as well. Let's go raid her then. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Matt. It was great having him on. Hi, everyone. Say hi to Hannah. Appreciate it again. Should be beating this game tomorrow at some point, probably in the evening. Looking forward to that. We'll rank it and rate it and all that stuff. Good time. You have a great evening, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.